Hey everyone, Dan at Bushcraft. Well, I'm out on another mountain hike. Beautiful blue skies. It's right around 30 degrees, so about 30 degrees warmer than the last time I was out, so it feels pretty nice. Real slight breeze, and we're gonna do up a lean-to fire and have some breakfast and take a break. Let me show you where I'm at and the resources that I'm working with so far. Only downside is the wind is not blowing the way that I wish it was. I would like to be facing what's behind you guys out there, but the wind is coming from that direction, so it would blow the smoke right in my face. So I've found some great resources, and that's why I stopped here. Right behind the camera, down in that little draw, which I followed up, is a creek, and it runs into a much bigger creek, which I followed up this morning and then turned sideways up this little one here. All right, let's look at so here's my trail that I came in on. I actually came up that draw down there, followed a small creek up, and that goes down into the bottom of a canyon and connects with another creek, which I used to follow up from the old logging road I'm parked on. But I found this huge fatwood stump sitting here from an old logging operation. So I intend on getting a few pieces of fatwood out from underneath that where it's drier. And there's more fatwood right here. And I'm not going to do a shelter because we've got clear skies and I'm not going to be here that long. But unfortunately, like I said, I'm facing the opposite direction that I wanted to. But we're going to do a lean-to fire. I threw my mat down here behind a tree, and we're going to do it right out here on the snow so that it's easy to put out when we're done. Now, if I was going to do a longer camp, I'd come back up in here, but I don't want to have to take all that time to deal with the fire. It'll be easier to put out when it's sitting in the snow. So this big old log here is going to be our back log for a lean-to fire, and I'm going to haul it up to camp. So let's get started. My idea of backwoods fun. All right, we got that up at camp. Let's go get some small stuff for the fire. So there's a nice dead fir laying on the ground, not too far behind where I'm doing my little day camp. And I already started gathering some branches. They're really dry and just snap right off. So if you can hear that, that stuff is just breaking right off there. Nice and dry, which is a really nice find up here when it's been snowing and raining. And then hear that, so I can get some bigger stuff off here too. And that is going to give us a great start to our lean-to fire. All right, let me work on this for a bit and get a couple arm loads up to our fire area. So this will give us a good start. Okay, the last thing we're going to get is a couple pieces of fatwood out of this stump. I'm going to get back up in here and get some that's a little smaller and a little drier. That's good and solid. Yeah, that's rich. That's going to burn hot. It's wet on the outside, but once it gets some flame to it, that is going to burn really good. All right. That'll give us some good flame. This old stump right here, which is close to my camp, looks to me like it might have some good fatwood in it. I'm gonna just saw into this because I'm real curious if I've got another fatwood source on this side too. It's looking like it. Let's see. Oh yeah, I can smell it. Yep. It's a little damp in there. Get back a little farther. We'll see if we can't knock some of that out with my hatchet. I may have to get a baton if I can't chop it. Let's see. So that's all wet on the outside. Right there, it's starting to dry out. That's fatwood. Yeah, that's still pretty wet, but there's fatwood there. Oh, there we go. A little bit drier in there. Yeah. Now we're getting to it. So there's some rot in there too, but there's also some really good fatwood. And when that dries out, which it'll dry out from the heat of the fire, that's going to burn really good. Yeah, we'll just take some of these back and throw them in the fire. Bandana, always in my pocket, something I highly recommend. Always have one in your pocket because there's so many things you can use it for. And right now, I need a place to make some shavings. I've got a piece of dry fatwood out of my pack. That's another thing. Replenish your resources. So if I find some good dry fatwood today, or I may take some of the pieces I've cut and dry them out, I'll put those in my pack and replace what I'm taking out of my pack. So I've always got good sources with me. And I'm just going to use my hatchet. And if you can see that, I'm going to just get some curls, some large ones, and then there's some smaller ones. And I've got a bunch started in a pile here. And I'm going to do something that I normally don't do. I'm not sure that I've ever done a video where I have started a fire with a lighter. I've used flint and steel. I've done bow drill a couple times. And I use my ferro rod most often. Used windproof, waterproof matches quite a bit. I'm not sure if I've ever done a lighter. It being right around 30, we'll see if it will ignite. If not, I'll have to use my ferro rod. I don't know if you guys can hear that. There's a pileated woodpecker in one of the trees off in the distance. It just sounds almost like the Woody Woodpecker cartoon. They're the biggest woodpecker we've got around here. They're big. It's up in the trees calling. Very, very cool. Well, let me get a big pile of this here. All right, before we take this back to camp, I wanted to just go over real quick what I'm doing. So one of the easy things about doing this with a hatchet is I can set my hatchet down right in the middle of my bandana, whereas if I've got my knife and I set my knife down in the middle of the bandana, I'm going to poke a hole in it. So I can do the same thing I'm doing with my knife, but it's not going to be as good of a catch. I have to kind of maneuver my bandana around it, and then I can get everything to fall forward. So you can use either your knife or your hatchet. Just anchor it down and, you know, make some shavings. If you want curls, you just have to go a little lighter. Or some finer curls, I should say. And if you want bigger stuff, then you just apply a little more pressure and you can get it right in there. That's going to be plenty right there. I got a good pile started. So we'll take this back and see if we can't get a lighter to work out here today. Quick bushcraft tip for you guys. There's my pads right here and I can kneel on it, but the thing I usually do whenever I'm working around a fire and different things is I just take my gloves off and then put my knees on top of my gloves, and it keeps them from getting cold and keeps them dry. So it's something that you can do. Okay, I'm gonna make like a little base of some finer stuff, and I'm gonna put it right in here so I can get this log burning, maybe catch some of this on fire. And then we'll lay all these fatwood shavings and stuff in there that I've got. I've got a few bigger pieces. I'm going to set them to the side for a minute. Okay. I'll put those right here in a nice pile. And then I'll put these bigger ones on, and then put some wood over that and see if we can't get a lean-to fire going. Okay, here's our test. Let's see if we can get flame. A little bit, not much. Like I said, it's right around freezing out here, so I'm not sure if that's going to work or not. We'll try it. Yep, there we go. Look at that. You guys might have just seen a first out of over 350 plus videos. I can't remember starting a fire with a lighter. Who'd have thought, right? I just like to do my ferro rod and more primitive skills for you guys. But we'll get these fatwood pieces burning. And then take some of this smaller stuff and start leaning it up in here. And once this starts burning, we'll turn this into a lean-to. That's why it's called a lean-to fire. We're basically going to make a lean-to of sticks all along the front of this log. Oh, before that gives us too much trouble, because everything's a little damp and not going to want to burn real good, let's get a flame in there going. All right. So this stuff, It's damp on the outside, but the way it's snapping, you can tell it's definitely drier on the inside. And that's going to help us get some flame coming up through there. All right, pause you guys. I'm going to keep working on this for a few. And when this smaller stuff gets going good, I'll bring you back and we'll start making a lean-to along the front. Okay, that's starting to burn pretty good. So we're going to start turning this into a lean-to fire. And I'll leave some airspace between my limbs and things that I lean up in there so that those flames can come up through there. I got this big old piece of fatwood here. So I'll put some there. We'll put some here. And we'll just get that burning. Both directions. Some more fatwood here. And some smaller stuff. And we'll let that sit for a few. So the cool thing about a lean-to fire, there's a couple things about it that I like. One is it gives you a built-in heat reflector. You know, people talk about, you know, building a reflective firewall and stuff back behind your fire. This log actually becomes a heat reflector and fuel for the fire itself, because eventually as this fire gets hotter and this smaller stuff starts burning more and more, it's going to start burning into this old log, and so that's going to throw all this heat back at me. And makes a nice little wind block. And another thing is it's really easy to turn into a long fire. If I start with a long fire, it would be hard to go backwards to do a lean-to fire. But this would be real easy once this gets going. I decide I want to stay here longer, to just lay another log right down here and throw more stuff in between the two logs and turn this lean-to fire into a long fire. All right, that's just going to keep spreading out. I've got a good lean-to built now, a couple feet long. This flame's going that way. Flame's going to work back this way. I got that biggest piece of fatwood sitting on this end here. So once that starts burning, I'll have a nice long flame here. And it's starting to burn into that old log. I can feel the heat coming up. So while that's burning, let's go over to my pack. I got a couple different packs I use just depending on the time of year and what I'm doing. This is the Rush 24 in Ranger Green. And that's what I was after. The one backpacker's meal that I still try to get quite a few of is the granola and blueberries, because they make a great breakfast. And along with that, this is available on Amazon, Milkman powdered milk, because I like to add milk to that. And down in here somewhere, these organized buckets. Yeah, there it is. I have my Uko Spork. And clean canteen. All right. So I've warmed up some. I warmed up good when I was working. Like I said, it's around 30 instead of 0. So I got my anorak right behind me if I need to put it back on if I get chilled. The fire's putting out a decent amount of heat. It's taking its time, but it is gradually spreading out and burning into that log. And we're gonna get some granola and blueberries for breakfast. as I said, I like extra powdered milk. I carry this along with hot cocoa as well, so I can mix this right into my hot cocoa when I want that. But one of the things that's hard to do on camera, I'll take 2 spoonfuls of the milk, and I've got my Mountain House package sitting right down here. So I'll put 2 more spoonfuls of milk in there. That way I can add more water to it and have blueberry flavored milk to drink after I ate all my cereal, which is just cool. Remember when you were a kid and you would drink the cereal flavored milk? That's basically what this does. So I'm not worrying about measurement. I want extra liquid in there. So that I can drink that milk. There we go. So you guys can see in there, without pouring it all out, blueberries and blueberry milk and granola. Good breakfast by the fire. Man. All right, look at all those blueberries. If you haven't had this, this stuff is good. The Backpackers meals are getting ridiculously expensive. I've quit buying, for the most part, the main course meals. Even on Amazon, I was looking last night, 12 bucks. I can't do it. I just can't. So I'm doing ramen noodles and yakisoba noodles, throw in a can of stew, throw in a can of chili, throw in a can of soup, whatever, stuff in a can. So what? It adds an extra pound to my pack. No big deal. This is the one exception. I have a good stockpile of these, and when they come on sale, I will continue to buy, because this is just something I really enjoy. Let's take a look at our fire. So our fire is putting out a good amount of heat, and it's gradually spreading to the left and gradually spreading to the right. It's moving slow because everything's damp, but that's good for me. I'm not having to add a lot of stuff to it yet. As it moves out of the center to the right and left, I'll throw some more stuff in the center, and then more on the left and right, and get that probably another foot or so each direction, and then that's going to burn for a while. And I'm going to hang around here for a while around these creeks and stuff and do a little wandering around, and then later today hike back out to my rig. Of course, before I do anything else, I'm going to enjoy some more of this blueberry granola breakfast. Thanks for joining me, guys. Appreciate you coming along with me. Dan at Bushcraft. Take care, everyone.